The only person who saw my death coming was the woman paid to clean my floors. My name is Evelyn Vance. I'm 64 years old, and the morning I was meant to die, I was preparing to sign my life's work over to my son. I built Vance Logistics from an empty warehouse and a widow's grief. For 20 years, I carried it alone, believing legacy was something you built for family. That Thursday, my son Marcus arrived early, his expression serene, almost placid. His wife, Celia, followed, elegant and composed, placing a porcelain tray with 3 espressos on the table. She offered me the first cup with a polished smile. That's when our housekeeper of 17 years, Ines, entered the room. She knew my habits, my rhythms, the way I took my coffee. As she passed, her elbow caught the edge. Hot liquid cascaded over my skirt and the rug. Before the shock could settle, Ines leaned in, her whisper a blade of ice in the chaos. "Don't drink that. Trust me." My blood went cold, but my expression remained still. I gave a slight, forgiving nod. No one saw me switch the cups. We sat. The transfer documents, thick and final, were laid before me. Marcus spoke of legacy, of my well-earned rest, of easing my burdens. I lifted the delicate cup to my lips. The espresso tasted metallic, wrong. 4 minutes later, Celia's sentence fractured into a gasp. Her fine-boned hands trembled violently. She stood, the color draining from her face like wine from a broken glass, then crumpled to the floor. The room erupted. Marcus shouted. Ines stood motionless by the door, a statue of horror. I remained in my chair, hands steady, mind a storm of dreadful clarity. That poison was never intended for Celia. The target had been me. To understand the depth of this betrayal, you must know the years that preceded it. My husband, Robert, was taken by a sudden aneurysm. Overnight, I transformed from a partner to a solitary CEO in a boardroom of skeptical men who saw a company to dismantle. I made myself an iron student of the business, every invoice, every route, every client. I worked not for ambition, but from a stubborn belief that duty outlasts despair. Marcus was 24. I shielded him, mistaking coddling for care. I gave him time to find his passion. Instead, he cultivated resentment. He began to see my presence not as guidance, but as an obstacle. He spoke of modernization while dismissing foundation. Celia, ever the subtle strategist, would murmur, "Let us carry the weight now, Evelyn. You've done enough." Her concern was a veil for impatience. Ines saw the cracks I refused to acknowledge. She noticed the mornings I felt unwell, the dizzy spells I blamed on fatigue. She observed Celia's new habit of bringing specialty blends for our meetings, of ushering Ines out on specific errands. The puzzle pieces lay scattered until, one afternoon, Ines saw it. Through the reflection in a polished kettle, she watched Celia tip a small, unmarked bottle into my cup. Ines didn't confront. She documented. She began leaving an old voice recorder in the hall linen cupboard, capturing chilling fragments. Marcus discussing liquidity events. Celia talking about symptoms consistent with a heart condition. They spoke of me as a logistical problem awaiting a permanent solution. The morning of the signing, Ines knew the dosage had changed. The vial was larger. The plan, she realized, was accelerating. Her accident was a desperate, clumsy miracle. When Celia drank from my switched cup, their design inverted upon itself. At the hospital, Marcus was a portrait of performative grief. When the doctor stated toxicity and mentioned police, he agreed too readily. "We should have the cleaners in before they arrive," he suggested, his voice tight. "The study is a mess. Innocent people seek answers. Guilty people seek to sanitize." "No," I said, my voice unfamiliar to my own ears. "Everything stays as it is. Someone tried to kill your wife. Or perhaps," I held his gaze, they missed. Later, in a back booth of a quiet diner, Ines handed me a manila envelope. Inside were photos, dated notes, and a USB drive. The recordings were worse than I imagined. Their voices were calm, clinical. They discussed my life insurance policies, which I'd never approved, and wire transfers from company reserves. This was not a reckless scheme. It was a corporate takeover of a life. I took the evidence to the authorities. The arrest was swift. The trial was a methodical dismantling of their facade. The jury listened to my son's dispassionate voice plotting my end and required only an hour to reach their verdict. Marcus and Celia were sentenced to life, their cold ambition finally contained by concrete and steel. In the aftermath, I didn't reclaim my old life. I built a new one. I sold the house where every shadow held a conspiracy. I placed Vance Logistics under interim leadership and founded the Ness Foundation, aiding elders trapped in silent, financial wars with their families. Ines, my quiet savior, sits at the desk beside mine, a director and my moral compass. People ask how I bear it. I don't bear it. I was forged by it. I learned that legacy isn't blood, it's choice.
Maï son chose avarice. Inès chose courage.
And I, Evelyn Vance, chose to live. The family you make through loyalty can be stronger than the one you're born into. And sometimes, the most powerful testament to a life isn't what you build for your children, but what you rebuild after they try to destroy you.